What is up, Brady Bunch? Today we are gonna do something a little bit different. Today we're just gonna do a testimonial video. You know what I'm saying? So, um, yeah, that's all I got planned for today. So, I got into church. Y'all can tell I'm a Christian page. But realistically, I started getting in church when I was young. Just going there, trying to get out of the house. With our next door neighbor. I was probably about in middle school, you know what I'm saying? And I remember going to church over there. It was really cool. It was about 5th grade year, and it was actually elementary. But then we stopped going. Put in perspective, the household I lived in, I like to call it Sin City. My dad, he'd get monthly Playboy magazines. He'd chill out on the couch. That's when I was first shown naked women. And he'd sit there on the couch, look at them. My mom, she was no better. I remember I was doing Study Island on her phone, which is what we used at school. And I was trying to get it done. I clicked on the tabs page, and lo and behold, there was a lot of adult content on the phone. So early on, I was exposed to a lot of sin, and was in church in and out. My older sister, she would always take us to church every once in a while whenever we wanted to, and I would go for the girls. You know what I mean? I'm not stupid. A church girl, they're usually the prettier ones for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the Lord telling me, like, oh, she's a follower. She's even more pretty now, but because of that. But I used to go to church for that reason, and I remember I stopped going there for a little bit because I wasn't going for the right reasons. I didn't know nothing about Jesus, but I remember briefly before me and my best friend became obviously best friends, but parents split up. My parents, they used to beat each other. Just to kind of paint a picture of what I grew up with, my parents used to beat each other. Dad would actually beat my mom would beat my dad. I lived in a trailer. It was like a mobile home. It was a pretty nice mobile home, but I had a bunk bed, and I'd sit on the bunk bed and cry myself to sleep most nights because I'd have to visually watch, because my room door was right across from my parents. So I'd have to sit there and watch my dad beat my mom all the time. And then whenever my dad started to get sick of it, he would leave, and then my mom, she would beat us. Like, mom, there was one time mom, she had me choking up against the wall, and I remember my sister, she came over, my older sister, she came home, and she full-fledged knocked my mom into the chin, hit her in the chin. But then I remember there's one time I was sitting there, and my mom was drunk, and she thought it'd be funny to put me and my brother in submission holds because we love WWE. And I remember she would scream for us to tap. I was sitting there tapping, I was sitting there crying because it hurt so bad, but she thought it was fun. So life didn't really change until probably when I was in middle school. Parents got divorced, and then about 8th grade year, my mom, she got locked up, which is, I think, is a blessing from the Lord. Truth be told, Mom, if you're watching this is my perspective, because I almost made a decision to where I was going to move in with my mom at that time, and I was already starting to move some of my stuff over there, and then boom, they get arrested. Well, then my sister has to move back. My youngest sister has to move back because there's me, my brother, and my 2 sisters, oldest and youngest. And we didn't have a great relationship with our youngest. And, that kind of played a role in certain things. Dad, he would bring home some women from the bar, and they weren't the greatest. They were just lost people. But then I started to hang out with my best friend a whole lot more, and would also go to other people's houses. But I'd say my mom, she got out, and then God, what else happened? My mom got out, and then she started spending a lot of time with us, and I started going to church again, and started hanging out with my buddy. us there for a little bit. And my brother and sister got shipped up to Michigan with our family, because that's where I'm from. And I moved there with my mom when she got out for a little while. And it was a very interesting point in my life, because that's when me and my best friend became really good friends, because I would walk all the way across town. It's about like a 2-hour walk with me and my dad. We sit there to walk together, and I go spend the night at my best friend's house, and his sister would always pester us about going to church. I mean, always. And then eventually my dad would get back on his feet. I started going to church, and this is about my sophomore year of high school. And we started going to church and stuff. And then I remember, I was getting this feeling in my chest. It was an apostolic Pentecostal church. And I remember we had a guest speaker, and I was wearing a Detroit Lions jacket, and the guy, he was like, man, I know I'm speaking a message, but I think I'm really speaking it to my brother in the Detroit Lions jacket. And I remember how I felt, because I was already sitting there thinking, like, man, this message is really hitting too close to home, you know what I'm saying? And then he said that, and I was like, oh, dude. And pretty sure that was the first time I ever felt the Holy Spirit come onto me. And a little bit later, I got baptized. Then about a year goes on, because everyone thinks, oh, you become a Christian, life's great. It's just like everyone else's life. It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster for sure. And I remember it got to my senior year of high school, and my uncle, which was my best friend at the time, he would have been my best man if he was still around, because I wanted to be just like him. And he would always call me out when I was doing crap wrong. But I remember he hung himself, and I definitely took a step back from church right after that. And because I still don't understand it completely, you know what I'm saying? But I took a step back. But God gave me my current, my wife. She's currently my wife, but she was my girlfriend. We just started talking, and he gave me her, so I was able to rely on somebody. And then I kind of went through a phase. I started going to their church, and that church was all right. I'd fall asleep during the service, didn't really care for it. Nothing against that church. I mean, it's a good church. It's just, I don't know, it's not what I was used to. I'm used to people jumping up, hooping and hollering, Pentecostal church, not one where you just sit here and just stare at the pastor, And I have ADHD. I don't like sitting down as is. But then we got to the church that we're at now. A couple of things happen. A new church comes into the same building, and I started becoming a youth leader at that church, and a lot of stuff happened, and I just definitely feel like the Lord has been working on me a whole lot. The more I started listening to the Lord, it was probably about 2 years into our relationship, me and my wife's. But I remember a pastor said, the second you stop worrying about all the other women, your relationship with your current will become a lot better. And I remember I started to listen to that, and all my problems with the previous girl went away, and life became really good. And I just feel like it's just been a steady rise, and life's been hard, but it's also been good. Yeah, I just want to share my testimony with y'all. I hope y'all find some value out of this. But my testimony always changes, in the sense of whatever I share, whatever I feel like the Holy Spirit's telling me to share, I share. But it's always different, but it's always the same. So if y'all want to hear more, let me know.